Let's do this, yo. Hey everybody, this is DM Mike, and today is Chapter 3 tips for Hoard of the Dragon Queen. If you've watched my other videos about my chapter tips, they're not really designed to sit here and tell you exactly how to set up Chapter 3. I assume that most people's games are just unique. They're different. You've got different players, different synergies going on, and your style may be different. So these are just things that I did. I'm running out of space to record things. These are just things I did, tweaked, turned, things I thought, let's do away with that. Let's add this. So for me, the tips are more like springboards for you, that hopefully maybe they can give you something, give you some ideas. Now, I apologize for the lighting. I'm back in my movie room, but the lighting's been kind of messed with in here. Again, I am moving, so things are changing. So just don't apologize now. Someday I'll get like a really cool camera. But anyway, let's get into this. Okay, so I have, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 11 tips. Wow, I was working too hard on this particular chapter. All right, so let's get into it. This is tip number 1. The first tip is, this may sound obvious, but minimal prep. This is a kind of a session that you want to let it run on its own. You don't want it to get in the way. You don't want to do an extraneous amount of planning for it. You just want it to run itself. In my campaign diary, number, I think it's 8 or 9, I think it's 8, I actually show an image. It's not it should be posted by now, but I show an image of my prep, and you see it. It's like that much. I mean, like bullet point, maybe, not much there. These kind of dungeon crawl things is probably obvious to a lot of veteran DMs, but if you're new to this, just let the session go. Let it run itself. Let the characters make all the decisions, which direction they go, sneaking, role-playing, talking their way out of things, combat. I mean, just let it go. I hate to quote Frozen because I can't stand the movie, but, let it go. Just let them do that. So a minimal prep on this chapter, right? Number 2. I did this, maybe this will help you. I don't know how DMs prep for this, but I made a bullet point outline for quick reference. I don't like having 15 books laying out in front of me, right? And doing this, okay, let me check. Can't stand it. So I'll put an image up here of what I did. It's quick bullet point reference of every room and what's in it. Not all the descriptors, not all the box text. I don't think you need all that kind of stuff. You just want to know, okay, when they walk in this room, is there a chest? Is there a DC number they need to hit? Is there a trap? And what the enemies are. Boom, boom, boom. So I would just bullet point that out. If they're room 11, I've got all the main information I need. Everything else, though, is, just from reading the chapter, kind of up here, or just, making it up. I mean, they're in a cave. What else is going to be there, right? I mean, you can embellish all you want. But I made a bullet point outline, and it just broke down the most important pieces of information per room. Okay? I don't know if that's the best way to do it. I don't know if that's going to help you, but it helped me. I kind of find, this might be controversial, but I find dungeon crawls to be boring, and I find them to be kind of tedious. This is the first real dungeon crawl I've actually really ran. I don't know what that says about me, but I just find as a player, I've watched people, I've sat in groups where we've gone through dungeon crawls, and man, they just take forever because everybody is so freaking scared of dying, so freaking scared of every step, every doorway, every hallway for traps and enemies. It starts out cool and always ends up being pretty tedious, to be honest with you. But anyway, that's just a personal thing. All right, so number 1 was mental prep. Number 2 was make a bullet point outline of all the rooms. 3, if you can do this, this is more ambient, right? I would use ambient effects if at all possible. If you can find a Spotify or list, don't use music. Just an opinion. Use the ambiance, use a deep cavern kind of effect. And here's what we do. When I played, I've already got my own sound effects. I don't use Spotify. I don't use that. So I just make a lot of stuff for myself. And I've got 7.1 around here. So what we did was I had a cave ambiance piece that ran for 25 minutes and just looped it, of course. And it had different sounds and all that kind of stuff. And we turned out all the lights, and I had LED candles. You can find them on Amazon. I bought like this huge pack of LED candles of different sizes and whatnot. We scattered them around the table. And of course, we have my TV where we're running our tokens, and it worked great. So if they're going to go into a cavern, make the ambiance. if you can, I know this is subjective here, but if you can, run an ambient effect, or maybe just turn off the lights and do some LED candles, or, or heck, I guess use real candles. I mean, totally worth burning down a home, right? If that happens. But just create that cavern atmosphere the best you can for your players. All right, that's number 3. Let's see, number 4. How can I explain this? I feel like chapter 3 needs to be played with the utmost seriousness. That sounds a little weird, I know. And I don't mean like you're just so hardcore and you don't want comedy, you don't want people goofing off or nothing like that. But I think it's a pivotal chapter because, in the first chapter there's a lot that goes on, with the battles. Second chapter, they're captured most likely and tortured by 2 main heavies, Langdodrosa, depending on how you run it, but Langdodrosa and Frulam. And chapter 3 is when they finally can confront them. Right? Now, maybe in your campaign, they will escape. That's always a possibility, right? But this is pretty much, if you ask me, a showdown level. And so I feel like it's just a section that needs to be played with brutal seriousness in a way, not over the top. You still want to have some fun and whatnot. But what I mean is, this is the boss kind of level. And Frulam, these are 2 heavies. Frulam, Langdodrosa are both present. They don't want to give up. They don't want to see the cult fall. They have plans and things they want to do. So it's really important to them that the plan does not fall apart, right? So to me, I feel like these should be pretty brutal encounters, since especially when Frulam and Langdodrosa realize the caverns have been intruded. Now, of course, your characters may stealth their way completely through the whole thing, but this is, again, it's just something to think about, right? So, all right, let's see, where am I at here? Okay, I've got my computer screen going. Okay, Ninja Scroll. Let's talk about that. I did talk a little bit about it in my campaign diary. If you didn't do that, you're just going right to the tips. Well, here it is. Ninja Scroll is a great movie, and you need to watch it if you haven't. I pulled a lot of powers from the main 8 demons and put them and attached them to Langdodrosa. I was going to do it to Frulam. I wanted her to have something like was really crazy and unique, some kind of power that maybe the cult had given her. And I may still end up doing that. It was still, I think, a good idea, but at the time, if you watch the campaign diary, I was kind of thrown off my game for a moment there. But I gave, for instance, Langdodrosa, he could turn his skin to rock, and he had that huge double-bladed sword that he could throw and toss, and it would come back to him. But, Ninja Scroll is a great inspirational movie to watch, to, think about your boss characters and giving them all like these super unique powers. Just things that were just kind of oddities that the characters wouldn't have seen before. And I know we can pull things out of the DM's guide or, I don't know, the Monster's Handbook or whatnot. Nothing wrong with that. But sometimes I try to find something that is like unique, a little bit different, because we're dealing with the imagination, right? So visually what's going on up here. So I gave each heavy, which is pretty much Frulam, Langdodrosa, a unique power of some kind. You got to be careful if you give them magical weapons, though, because then your players will most likely get a hold of it. Also, I changed, this is in the campaign diary, but I also changed the Berserkers into more like snake men. They could take on the appearance of humans, but they were snakes underneath, and they were pretty brutal. So it's a brutal encounter for the players and for your main NPCs, right? So there you go. Enhance your heavies. All right, let's go to the next one, treasure. Okay, here's what I did. Maybe this is a typical thing that you do. But long before we play, I go into my Google Docs and I'll type out all the treasures, cut them up, fold them, and I can hand them out to people. So not everybody knows what's in those treasure chests, because a lot of times your thief is going to go, he's going to make a beeline right for the treasure, or someone else is going to go look over here. So I like to make secret notes that I hand out. And so what you want to do is go through the chapter, go through each room, pick out significant things. If there's a treasure or if there's something you're supposed to search for and they find, make little notes. I do this for all my campaigns, so it's kind of, it's just the way I play. It's just, I don't know if it's a style, it's just what I've always done. But I like secret information, even if it's just a little thing. Oh, you noticed something? Here you go, thief. And you give them a little note. So that's what I did. I had handouts for the treasures, handouts for the clues, handouts for anything they may have found that were unique, like the stuff on Frulam's desk that they can find, things like that. So only one person has it. And then as a character, they get to express what they saw. They get to talk about it or keep it to themselves, right? Okay, so that's how I'd handle treasure. What is this one? Let's see. Use card tints. There you see. Oh, okay. I'm trying to figure out what my next tip is. Like, what? This is more of a tip that I should have had a visual aid for. Maybe I'll put something up here. I don't know if it'll work, but I took index cards. This may work for not just this level, but every chapter. One thing you're always reminding your players of is the enemy's AC. I get kind of tired of that. Like, what's the AC? 15. What's the AC? 15. And did I hit? Did I hit? You get that often in all your games. Well, what I started doing a little while ago was taking, index card, making a tent out of it, writing all the enemies, so Langdodrosa, AC 17, and when someone finally hit him, they would do their damage, and I'd put this card out in front of the screen and says, there you go. There's Langdodrosa's AC. Anytime they finally made a hit on an enemy, I would put these cards out, and sometimes they'd be lined up in front of my screen, not on my screen. That's where all the initiative cards are, right? But in front, there's just little card tents. And so everybody could look at my screen and go, okay, yeah, that goblin has a, AC of 13. Oh, the Berserkers have 14. So it just cut down and made things pretty fast. And there wasn't a lot of, what's the AC? The classic question we always get. So it's probably not a chapter 3 tip, but it's a good tip, I think, for all the chapters, if you haven't, already been doing this. Okay, so, all right, so I changed, my next tip was I did change the Berserkers, made a little bit, just changed them up, their aspects, so we'll just kind of skip over that one. So maybe there's really 10 tips. Okay, so here's my next one. It's, if you can, now see, these tips are a little bit different than your probably typical tips, but if you can, I would recommend using a radio drama. Take out one particular box text in particular, I think it's page 25, whatever it is, the Dragon Shrine, and bring that to life. If you're thinking about doing radio dramas, as I've kind of displayed here on my channel, that is a good place to start. It's a good box text to go with. It has just atmosphere, there's no voices, it has a great narrative there, and you could put in just music and your voice, right? And if you look on my channel, just go a couple back, I think cutscene number 8, box text, actually highlights this particular text. Now, I don't do all of them, just a few, but if you're in chapter 3 and you're thinking about you want to add a little spice there, a little bit of radio drama, then I would suggest in the Dragon Shrine, use that box text. It's pretty good. I think it's got some good flavor to it. All right, and lastly, I think here just a suggestion, but I would suggest removing the roper. I think I've heard the arguments here that it's pretty tough. I mean, it really is. I mean, it has the potential of completely wiping your party out. Especially if you're a DM and you're dealing with murder hobos, it's going to wipe them out. Now, they've talked about you can kite it and all kinds of different things. That's perfectly possible, but it's pretty tough. One of my characters in chapter 3 did an insight roll and wanted to know if they knew anything about ropers, and they did. They rolled something ridiculously high, over 20. And so in doing so, I gave them the Monster's Handbook, Monster Manual, sorry, and let them read about the roper, because that's what they knew. They nailed it. And boy, was it brutal. And that thing really can change the tide. So I would recommend taking it out. Maybe your party is strong enough. Fine, keep it, and you can still keep it in, right? Maybe they could. Maybe you're thinking, well, I got like 7 players. They probably could take out that roper. Well, here's another reason why I feel like you should take it out. Not just because it's tough, but it's anticlimactic. You just most likely went through 2 huge boss encounters, and the last thing you need to get to is these dragon eggs. And I felt like it was just too much. It created a very anticlimactic feeling. Even though the roper in the book does just say that, it probably won't attack, but really, come on, I think most likely a lot of players are going to do something to that roper and cause some problems, right? But beyond that, just from a story narrative point, I just feel like it's another conflict that doesn't belong there. I think after the crescendo and the climax of fighting Langdodrosa, hopefully winning, fighting Frulam if she doesn't escape, but fighting these 2 heavies and really putting a dent in the cult, it just feels very odd to go in the next room and be ambushed again and then a roper. I kind of took all that stuff away. After that huge fight, they went down the steps and just there were the dragon eggs. Like there was the treasure. Of course, they killed the dragons, but there was the ending. I felt like anything else was really pushing it. Just really pushing it, all right? So there's my suggestions. Guys, There's my 10. All right, that's all I got. You know, the other one I've already kind of discussed twice here, but let me go ahead. We'll do a quick recap. Here, I'll zoom my screen out and get them up here. So the first one, minimal prep. Let the players run the dungeon. Just let them do whatever they want to do. 2, I would recommend making a bullet point outline for quick reference. So breaking down each room, writing out all those DC numbers, and just key features that you need to make sure they see or have, right? 3, I'd recommend creating as much ambient effects as possible, turning down the lights, LED candles, whatever you can think to make it feel like your players are in a cave. I'm all about verisimilitude, right? Number 4, I suggest you play this particular chapter with the utmost seriousness, because it's a pretty brutal confrontation that happens between Frulam, or especially Langdodrosa, and the amount of information that is dropped, and these are pretty big heavies, right? So just, hey, brutal encounters, play it with some seriousness here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think this is the 5th one. I'll get it right in the video. I used bonus enhancements for your heavies. Watch Ninja Scroll, you know, watch whatever your favorite animation. Get some ideas from that. Pop them on your big heavies. You know, maybe just one skill. It doesn't need to be like 15. I mean, they've already got abilities, but you know, just kind of spice it up, make it a little bit different. Next one, used. I did that one. Treasure. Just make your quick handouts. Type everything. You know, I usually do like in Google Docs, but I'll make the font like a 14, make it really, really big so everybody can read it, and just say, in this treasure chest you find this wrapped in this, and blah blah. You know, just all the special stuff that someone needs to be able to hold or see or take. Have it available so you can secretly give it to people, or not just secretly, but just hand it over to them, and they have a choice. They can role play with that. All right, next one, use card tents, where you just write the character's name, Langdodrosa, and AC, put out in front of your tent. I'd recommend this not just for chapter 3, but all your chapters. Just have something ready to go. Next one, change the Berserkers. This is really subjective. I mean, I just did it because I wanted a little more flavor, but I gave them kind of the mantle of human flesh, but they really were snakes. So in their death throes, they bit the person. Okay, so change Berserkers. Last 2, recommend a radio drama. This is a bit of a stretch, but if you can do a box text, if I looked at each chapter and recommended at least one box text per chapter, chapter 3, I believe the Dragon Shrine works best if you want to try your take at a tone piece or radio drama, right? And lastly, of course, is to remove the roper. Not necessarily because of difficulty, because I don't know your group, but I find it just as opinion that it's very anticlimactic coming after some of the brutal fights that happen between Frulam and Langdodrosa. I just don't think it flows really well. I might even say, look, remove those last few kobolds too. It feels like when I read that, it almost felt like those JRPG games where it's just like all these random encounters that just don't ever end. You just want to make, kind of take 2 steps without having another combat. That's what it started to feel like. So to me, from a narrative story point, it just doesn't flow very well as far as pacing. All right. So that's it, guys. Those are my chapter 3 tips. Not a lot there because it's a dungeon crawl and anything can happen. If you've seen my campaign diary, a lot happened that really changed things up, and I'm very excited by it, but a lot can change. So hopefully these tips will help you with chapter 3 and also future chapters like the card tents, the ambient effects, changing box text, all of that kind of stuff. It's all doable. But right now, I got to prep for chapter 6. So anyway, guys, hope that helps. If I think of anything else, I'll add it. Till then, I'll see you in the next video.